Now, another way you can do this is if you don't have those physical credibility, physical credentials or something like that, or like a legitimate credential source like that. Another thing that you can do, they talked about in this book, is what's up, Copy Squad? This is our first private live stream for the Copy Squad Inner Circle. I'm really going to focus on trust and credibility in this. People have asked, like, what's the state of copywriting? Like, what trends are hot? What's working now and what's not? This current trend of building an incredible amount of credibility and trust with your audience is hot right now. I just saw it recently occur with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, and they just launched this mastermind course, which made like over $12 million in like the first day or two. I've seen it more and more in the successful promotions in the financial publishing niche, like this one that we're about to look at from Money Map. They do a great job of basically threading this person, this guy right here, into all of the copy. His history, his experiences, where he's been and where he is now, all become like this total three-dimensional picture of what this dude is as a person. So you feel like you're buying from a person, you're not buying from like just this system to get rich. You feel like this dude's got it figured out and you trust him because there is so much about him inside of this promo. I really wanted to focus and drill down on what creates authority, what creates credibility. And I got some information from this book here. It's called Making Them Believe by Dan Kennedy, and also has Chip Kessler in there. And basically this is about a guy who, he posed as a doctor, and he got men who were feeling very unconfident about their bedroom drive to do some really ridiculous things. But there's a goat right there. Basically he gets people to sew goats' private parts into their private parts to enhance their performance. And I looked into like, how do you build that authority? How do you build that credibility with people when something is outlandish as that? The three ways that Dan Kennedy says you can do it, basically you can do it with credentials, specialization, or the context of your message. Specialization, basically whenever you specialize in something very specific, you enhance your credibility because you are the expert at that thing. It's the same thing when we see like a general copywriter, a guy who says, I can do it all, I'm a copywriter, right? Or we have someone like, say, me, who says like, I am a long-form direct response financial copywriter, right? There's a lot more expertise in that long tail title whenever you claim to be something very specific and specialized. So the reason this doctor became so successful in this book is he said he created a product for every ailment. You know, instead of saying I'm a doctor can fix everything, or this product fixes everything, he created like a unique product to fix every problem. So that was one of the ways that he built his authority, is he had a special product for every problem. So it showed that he was a specialist in that thing, but then having a variety of those special products just built his credibility and authority even further. So the next thing, credentials, real versus self-granted. They talk about this in the book a little bit. The idea is if you have this absolute authority, like the guy called himself a doctor, even though I don't think he was technically a doctor to start. I think he eventually bought the certificate to become a doctor. The credentials lent him authority. So he was able to say, I'm a doctor, and then therefore that lends trust and credibility. Now, another way you can do this is if you don't have those physical credibility, physical credentials or something like that, or like a legitimate credential source like that. Another thing that you can do, they talked about in this book, is creating the credentials for yourself, self-generated credentials. So whenever you see stuff in these promotions that we review where it says like, world's best trader is saying this XYZ is happening, right? So we can see right here, this guy has some credentials. Mensa is the genius IQ. Like, that's a real credential. Like, that means this guy is technically got like a genius level IQ. But we've seen other promotions in the past where it says like, world's #1 trader claims that this is going to happen. Those are made up, self-granted credentials. Something that Dan Kennedy claims in his book is that he calls himself the world's most expensive copywriter or something like that. It's just a credential he gave himself, right? Self-generated credentials. So we've talked about how to build your credibility and trust with specialization. We talked about how to build your credibility and trust with credentials. And the third thing is the context in which you're delivering your message. So for instance, if someone is on stage, they automatically get all sorts of, basically, if you're on stage, you're an expert, right? Everyone just believes what you say, no matter what you say. I've seen people get on stage and spit stuff that makes no sense based on my direct marketing experience. And then people afterwards will come up and ask me questions. Wow, that was so amazing. I never thought of it that way. Like, how did you learn all this stuff? And it's like, these people, they just throw out all the things that they know about direct response and classic like data and testing and things that have been proven to be true as soon as someone gets on stage and says something different, just because they're on stage, right? There's a lot of power behind that. So then I wanted to dive a little further into this context aspect of creating authority. And one of the things that I found is I looked up in the book called Forbidden Keys to Persuasion. It talks about developing a context of power. And in that book, Forbidden Keys to Persuasion by Blair Warren, he talks about the 5 traits that are common in people who have power over other people that common folks do not have. All right, so let's go through those. 1, they attribute their knowledge to mysterious sources. So virtually every cult leader or guru or expert begins to rise to power by claiming access to knowledge unattainable to common men. And you'll see that in all the financial promos, or almost all financial promos. That's the only emotion, right? We got new, easy, safe, and big. News, alter ego is only. So the only emotion is that I'm the expert. You can only get that knowledge from me here and now. So that fits right in with the first trait. They attribute their knowledge to a mysterious source. I've got an algorithm. I've got this AI system. I've got this training with the CIA. I've got all this experience here and there. We're going to see that come into play in this promo as well. Trait number 2, they are pattern finders. Another trait these people have is they're able to discover and codify patterns. And it's usually the people that find these patterns first that get like the most renown and power, because they discovered that pattern first. They unearthed it, right? So he looked in the book Forbidden Keys of Persuasion, he looked at Freud and Maslow and the psychologists in the day who were like the first people to kind of dive into this sort of stuff. They're regarded as the gods, right? They came up with it, right? They're the ones who found the patterns. And then that leads right into step number 3. But before we go into step number 3, so the pattern finders, right? That's what's important, is that the pattern be something new then. So you have to create a new pattern, or else you will not get the same sort of persuasive power. If you're just commenting on someone else's pattern that someone else found, it's not nearly as powerful as if you discovered the pattern, right? If you yourself or your guru discovers the pattern, you get a lot more persuasive power behind it. So that's why in these systems, you'll see it in this promo so much too. This guy discovers the pattern. He discovers the pattern, and then it goes into trait number 3. They are label makers. They create labels that make sense of a chaotic and hard, difficult to understand world. And in this promo, we're going to see a lot of that label making. And if you go back to psychology, we'd be talking about Freud again. We talk about the ego, neurosis, the superego, the id. Those kinds of labels give certain personality or certain, a label, for lack of a better word, to things that we can't really understand otherwise. Once you put a label on it, oh, it makes sense now. I understand. The is the impulse, and the ego is just like this other thing. The superego is your conscience, right? It gives these labels an understanding now. Number 4, they give others a sense of power. You can see that in sales promotions and sales letters when someone says something like, we're going to basically give you the power to change your life, right? We're going to teach you the secrets behind all the things that have held you back. We're going to give you everything you need, and you're going to take control of your life, and you're going to save your family. You're going to donate and build your church, and you're going to do this and you're going to do that. That's that sense of power. It's that hope. Right? Whenever you get to that section where you're future pacing, you're giving someone a sense of power, okay? And that leads us into the very last one, which is they are difficult to reach, understand, or make contact with. For these sales letters, right, you're going to see these are expensive products. The front-end newsletters for $50, $49 price point, they don't always give you access to the guru. They give you access to a report. For these $2,000, $2,500, $3,000 products, you get access to the guru. But there is a paywall. There is a strong paywall. Like, you can't talk to me. I'm a millionaire. Like, you think you're going to get my time? You got to pay. Right? So that leads right into they are difficult to reach, understand, or make contact with. That comes right back to that new and only, that exclusivity, like, yeah, I'm the expert, right? Let's review a couple things. We'll recap. Dan Kennedy, he talks about making people believe by having a specialization, like just by being the expert in that field. You can convince people just by saying I'm the expert at this very niche, narrow thing. It's so much more believable than saying I'm a copywriter. Say I'm a long-form direct response financial copywriter. That sounds like you know what you're talking about, right? Next thing, credentials, and they can be real, like having this Mensa thing, right? Or they could be self-branded by calling yourself the world's best trader, right? So specialization credentials. And the last thing is the environment you operate in, the context. One of those things can be presenting on a stage, something like that, right? Going deeper and deeper into context. Like, what are the traits? What are the context? What are the personality context that creates massive amounts of control over others? And in the book Forbidden Keys to Persuasion, Blair Warren says, one, they attribute their knowledge to mysterious sources. That could be like their time in government, their time developing an algorithm. And you're going to see that kind of stuff in this promo. All right. They are pattern finders. They find things that seem chaotic and they organize them into patterns that we can predict, right? That's safe and predictable. It's safe and predictable. You're going to see that in this promo. They are label makers. They take all that chaotic information, they slap labels on it so that we can easily identify and make sense of it. You're going to see that in this promo. They give others a sense of power. So every time you see someone in a promo say, imagine if this happened to you, you're going to see that in this promo. They're difficult to reach, understand, or make contact with. You got to pay $2,000 to get with this, to get connection with this dude. So again, you're going to see that in this promo.